Millions of people on Social Security retirement and SSDI will walk into 2026 with no idea that a few specific numbers could shrink their checks. In 2026, the Social Security Administration has set new earnings thresholds that decide how much you can work while collecting benefits before your payments are reduced or your disability is put at risk. These key numbers are $1,690, $2,040, $2,830, and $5,430 per month, and each one applies to a different group: non-blind SSDI beneficiaries, early retirees under full retirement age, blind SSDI beneficiaries, and people who will reach full retirement age in 2026. If you don't know which group you're in and which number applies to you, you can accidentally cross the line just by picking up a few extra shifts or taking on a side job. Welcome to Social Security Post. If you find this kind of step-by-step explanation helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss future updates on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, Medicare, and benefit changes. In this video, we're going to break down each of these 2026 limits in plain language, show you exactly how the math works when you go over the threshold, and explain what happens to your benefits when you cross the line. Stay with me until the end, because the highest limit, $5,430 a month, is tied to people reaching full retirement age, and the rules there are very different from the SSDI rules. Knowing the difference can be the line between a temporary withholding and a complete loss of disability benefits. Let's start with SSDI beneficiaries who are not legally blind. In 2026, the Social Security Administration has set the Substantial Gainful Activity, or SGA level, at $1,690 per month in earned income for non-blind disabled individuals. SGA is a technical term SSA uses to describe a level of work activity and earnings that they consider substantial. If you are on SSDI and your gross earned income for a month, that means before taxes and deductions, goes over this amount, SSA may decide that you are engaging in substantial gainful activity. Earned income includes wages from a job, net income from self-employment, or gig work such as driving, delivery, or freelancing. It does not include things like your SSDI check itself, most pensions, investment income, or help from family or friends, because those are not earned through current work. If you repeatedly earn more than $1,690 per month in 2026, while on SSDI, SSA may review your case and determine that you no longer meet the disability standard, which can lead to suspension or termination of your benefits after any trial work and grace periods are used up. That's why this number is so critical. Even a small increase in work hours can push your gross wages over the SGA limit. This does not mean you can't ever work on SSDI. There are special rules like the trial work period and expedited reinstatement. But it does mean you must track your earnings carefully and keep records. In simple terms, if you are on SSDI and not blind, $1,690 per month in 2026 is your red line. Go above it regularly and you are telling Social Security, I may no longer be disabled under your rules. Later in this video, we'll compare this to the much higher limit for blind beneficiaries, so you can see how SSA treats those categories differently. Now let's talk about people collecting retirement benefits who are younger than full retirement age for the entire year 2026. For this group, Social Security uses the Retirement Earnings Test. In 2026, the annual earnings limit for beneficiaries who are under full retirement age all year is $24,480, which works out to about $2,040 per month if you spread it evenly across the year. This applies only to earned income, wages, and net self-employment, just like with SGA. If you stay at or below the annual limit, your retirement benefit is not reduced because of work. But if your earnings go above that amount, Social Security will withhold $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn over the limit. For example, If you end up earning $4,000 above the annual limit, SSA will withhold $2,000 in benefits, often by holding back one or more monthly checks. The important thing many people don't realize is that this withholding is not usually lost forever. When you later reach full retirement age, SSA recalculates your benefit and gives you credit for the months when your checks were withheld, slightly increasing your monthly benefit going forward. However, in the short term, having a check withheld can be a shock if you're relying on that money for rent, food, or medications. That's why understanding the $2,040 per month equivalent is so important. It gives you a rough monthly target to stay under if you want to avoid surprises. If you're an early filer, say you claimed at 62 or 63, and you're thinking about picking up a part-time job in 2026, you'll want to plan your hours and pay so you don't accidentally push your earnings way over $24,480 for the year. A later section will explain how the rules change completely once you hit your full retirement age year and that bigger $5,430 limit kicks in. For SSDI beneficiaries who are legally blind, the rules are more generous and the difference is big. In 2026, the SGA limit for blind individuals is $2,830 per month in earned income, over $1,100 more per month than the non-blind SGA level. SSA has long recognized that blind individuals face additional barriers in the workplace, so the law allows them to earn more from work before Social Security considers that work substantial enough to question disability status. Just like with non-blind SSDI, what matters is gross earned income, wages, self-employment, or gig work. Unearned income like SSDI itself, SSI or investment income is treated differently and does not count as SGA earnings. However, that higher limit doesn't mean there's no risk. If you are blind and on SSDI and your earnings repeatedly exceed $2,830 per month in 2026, SSA may find that you are engaging in substantial gainful activity and could move to stop your benefits once you've gone through any trial work periods and grace periods. The good news is that blind beneficiaries often have access to special work incentives, including deductions for certain impairment-related work expenses and rules that make it easier to restart benefits if work doesn't last. But from a simple, practical standpoint, you still need to know and respect that $2,830 limit. If you're blind on SSDI and considering additional work in 2026, think of $2,830 as your monthly danger zone. Just as we'll see with the retirement earnings test, going over the line doesn't always mean instant termination, but it does mean extra scrutiny and a real risk of losing your monthly check if the higher earnings continue. Now let's move to the people who will reach full retirement age, FRA, sometime during 2026. For this group, Social Security uses a much higher special earnings test limit from January up to the month before you reach FRA. In 2026, the annual limit for people who reach FRA that year is $65,160, which works out to $5,430 per month. That is a huge jump compared with the $24,480 limit for workers who are under FRA all year. The penalty rule is also different. If you're in your FRA year, Social Security will withhold $1 in benefits for every $3 you earn above $65,160 in the months before you reach FRA. For example, if you earn $6,000 over that limit, SSA will withhold $2,000 in benefits. The higher limit and gentler reduction rate reflect the fact that you are very close to full retirement age. Once you actually reach full retirement age, the earnings test ends. From the month you hit FRA and going forward, you can earn any amount, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 or more from work, without any reduction to your Social Security retirement benefit due to earnings. This is a critical planning point for people who are still working late in their careers. If your FRA is in 2026 and you're thinking about delaying retirement or continuing your job, knowing that you can earn up to $65,160 in wages before any benefits are withheld can help you decide whether to claim early or wait. And remember, just like with the earlier earnings test, withheld benefits in your FRA year are generally adjusted for when you reach FRA, so much of that money is recovered through a higher monthly benefit later. But in the short term, a high-paying job can still cause several months of checks to be withheld, so you want to know the $5,430 monthly equivalent and plan ahead. All of these numbers, $1,690, $2,040, $2,830, and $5,430 have one thing in common. If you cross them without understanding the rules, your check can shrink or even stop. For SSDI beneficiaries, especially non-blind individuals subject to the $1,690 SGA limit, consistently earning above the limit can eventually lead SSA to conclude that you are no longer disabled under their rules, which can stop monthly payments and sometimes trigger overpayments that SSA later tries to collect back. For blind SSDI beneficiaries, the higher $2,830 limit offers more room to work, but the structure is similar. Sustained earnings above that amount invite a disability review and potential termination. On the retirement side, early filers under FRA who cross the $24,480 annual earnings limit will see $1 withheld for every $2 over the limit. And those reaching FRA in 2026 will see $1 withheld for every $3 over $65,160. The key difference is that for retirement benefits, reduced checks are usually temporary and often made up later in the form of a recalculated, higher benefit at full retirement age. For SSDI, especially when SGA is involved, the risk is more serious. Your eligibility itself is at stake, not just the timing of payments. That's why 2026's updated limits matter so much. If you're on SSDI, you need to know whether your category is non-blind or blind, and stay aware of the $1,690 or $2,830 SGA level. If you're on retirement benefits, you need to know whether you'll be under FRA all year or reaching FRA in 2026, and plan your work so you understand exactly how every extra dollar affects your monthly check. Taken together, these rules don't mean you can't work. They mean you have to work smart with the Social Security rulebook in mind. In a future video, we can build on this and walk through how the 2.8% cost of living adjustment changes actual 2026 benefit amounts for retirees, SSDI and SSI recipients, so you can see the full picture of your income for the year. Thank you for watching Social Security Post, and I'll see you in the next video.